Hi, good afternoon. My name is Ray. I'm here in London on the kind of the hump day of the week, Wednesday. I've been having a lot of conversations with lots of people across the world who are engaged in the kind of new startups, online businesses that are relatively new to what they've originally been before. A lot of them have trying to make the transition from offline to online. People who have been made redundant, sadly, due to various things, or businesses that have gone out, are no longer with, they've gone bust, and trying to make that kind of transition to carry on being, carry on with a livelihood and make an income and generate, income for themselves, and to enable them to take care of their families and all the things that we all know that why we effectively have gone to work, to the job. Now, if you talk to many entrepreneurs who are self-employed, particularly home-based business owners, they refer to the job as just over broke. And that can have many permutations. There are many people I know who work the 40-hour work week in the corporate, so they make good money, but they also happen to be enslaved and shackled to their job. There's a lot of things, the freedoms of not being self-employed that they're not able to enjoy. And there's also that false sense of security where you think, oh yeah, I'll come in Monday and I have a job. And as we all know, from many of us have not only read in the press, heard in the press, talked to people. I know many people. In fact, I've been, shall I say, I wouldn't say downsized myself, but I've gone through and been with companies that definitely have downsized and where things got squeezed. But I have nearest and dearest who have. And so it's making that transition. I mean, we are in a new millennia. We are in the information age. It's amazing what's available and at our fingertips through the internet. The new technologies through the mobile phones, handhelds of various sites, but or just even desktops. So, I mean, all kinds of permutations of kind of a new way of doing things. Originally, the idea, it seems to me, that was set up that these were supposed to be vehicles for convenience, and it seems to me that they also can, kind of trap us into this false sense of being able to multitask, when in fact the over kind of whelm of multitasking or the overwhelm of instant contact and feedback required by people who, I get it all the time. It's like, I rang you, why didn't you ring me back? Well, I was busy. I pinged you. How come I didn't get an instant reply? Because I was doing something else that I wanted to do, such as maybe having a meal or spending time with, my family or spending time with my friends. And it has nothing to do with them personally. It's just like, it's a choice that I make with my time that I value and where I expend it. It has nothing to do with it's personal. And then people get these kinds of false senses of, kind of like, well, you're unreliable. It's like, no, actually I'm extremely reliable. I'm just being more effective in my own life and trying to, determine where I want to spend it. But in doing that, and to get to that point of being able to be freed up to do those things, one effectively has to work for themselves or be the owner of the business, where one has delegated and sets it up in such a fashion that one is able to actually be very hands-off, where you have managers in place. And then, of course, then you start being a reflection of that pyramid where you have the CEO, then you have the managers, and then you have the workers, and then you have all the others, whatever they may be, or whoever they may be. And nowadays, even the interns are being pulled in to work for free, and then you have volunteers of the kindness of their heart who are interested in promoting a cause. But in making that transition, it can all be very, very new and very, very foreign. And so having, a good kind of, buddy system or accountability buddies or partners, or business partners if you need that, or even, life partners who are very supportive. That support is crucial, but often in the world of the internet, and I know this to be the case, is often if I'm working late in the night because the house is quiet and nobody's making any noise, the phone's not ringing, and I can really kind of focus my attention onto what with those key tasks that I need to do. That's in my in tray, and that in tray is the one that I set up for myself, and those are the things, those key things that I have to do, and there's those key things that I choose to do. But of course, in the operation of any kind of business, we all know, and I'm not saying, I'm not trying to be, anything other than just, relay that we're kind of on the same page here, that in operations and managing a particular business, there are certain things and certain disciplines and certain key tasks that actually have to be done. Otherwise, run into trouble. If you're not keeping a paper trail, for example, and you don't have an accountant or a bookkeeper or something, or you have to do it yourself, and that's where overload and overwhelm. And there's so many cases that I know where, I've worked for people offline, in the building contracting, as I was working my way through university or college, that you have self-employed people or business owners who were trying to do everything and got overwhelmed and couldn't get any of it done. And then, come tax time, it was like they ran into a lot of trouble and ended up paying penalties, and that was a real shame. So that's just an example. But so let's shift into gears. So now we've made the transition. we're trying to put our presence online, and we know the key things that we have to do. We have to position ourselves to so that people know that we're there. And there are various things in the online business world that are required to do that. And to do that, we're learning something new, so we have to train up, we have to up our skill sets, we have to kind of tweak our mindset, which is very, very key to success anyway, so that's a whole separate discussion, but very, very key. And in that is that often that feeling of overwhelm can be very, very discouraging. And in the world of the internet and the employed home-based businesses, we often find ourselves working alone. Now, the beauty of the technology, say using Skypes or instant access and email, is that we also, the flip side of it is that we are also able to reach out to people who we know are part of a community, or people that are part of a team. I'm part of a team of people that we hold each other accountable. We touch base, we kind of connect, we get ideas, we share, we brainstorm, we mastermind, depending on how you view it. And to keep us going, or to build up momentum, or my viewpoint is that us on the planet, but also in our community, and us in the family, and us on a team, and in a business, is that we can only be as effective as our kind of, I don't want to say weakest link, because we all have asset value, that unique value that is worth bringing to the table. But if in some areas someone might be weaker, there's a lot of things that I'm not particularly good at. I'm not a kind of a micro precision type kind of person. I'm great with ideas, and great with implementing, and great with connecting with, finding the key people that have a skill set that might be good at bringing through. And then there are others who are like, no, I'm very good at bean counting, I'm very good at numbers, I'm very good at formulaic type exercising, and so forth and so on. And so if you can bring and connect with those people, that some people would call that outsourcing, others call it delegation, other people like myself call it connecting. And so we all bring a value, we add value, and then you have a bigger value, and then hopefully that value is successful, and then everybody's successful, and then prosperity follows. But in that, often we can find ourselves alone, and we're thinking that we're overwhelmed, or we're slightly embarrassed, or I remember having teachers say, no question is a bad question, and you think, okay, and then you put your hand up, and all of a sudden everybody bursts out laughing, and of course that's the last time you ask, unless you've got a teacher who can kind of manage that well. But there's been often many cases where I've been basically just beaten down, the single nail up, and then just being cracked because I stood up, or I thought, or I went a different way, or I was thinking like completely out of the box, or not even in the box, and didn't know the flipping box existed, or whatever. It just wasn't my way of thinking. But to be an entrepreneur is often very, very self-demanding, and we can also be our worst critic. And being our worst critic, we can also be our worst enemy, in the sense that we're actually hindering ourselves and constraining ourselves, as opposed to freeing ourselves up. So there's that false sense of, well, I'm self-employed, I should be empowered, but I'm not. And then there's discouragement and the doubt, and all these things kick in, and it's really unfortunate, because those are the things that really do test us, but also the things that we need to have in place before the test comes through. And that's where the power of belief, self-belief, focus, determination, and taking action, but also having a connection with community that are also doing the same thing. Now, everybody's at their different goalposts, or their different measure, and so forth and so on. But don't be discouraged. I say that quite. It's easy to say, but is to say that when those feelings come, recognize them. Maybe even write them down. Maybe even the voice on the shoulder says, "Oh yeah, you can't do that," and the other voice says, "Yeah, sure you can," and you have that tug of war going on. But reach out to yourself, because we actually, we sell ourselves really, really short. We have an immense, just a depth, a deep well of resourcefulness, meaning that, we have this, but we just somehow got disconnected because of the doubt, because of the lack of, support, or because of the lack of belief, or we've been beaten down, and so on and so forth. But there are communities of people out there who are very, very positive, very supportive, and in fact are doing the exact same thing, or have been through, or going through it themselves, who are very, very, supportive or positive and upbeat. And those are the people you want to connect with. I know that sometimes we have the spouse or the partner or the this or the family or so on who think that they're being, well-intentioned, but they are undermining your dream or your vision. And in fact, that can be very, very, very damaging. And as a result, doubt, discouragement, and so on. And it just kind of manifests into a snowball. And it's so easy for us to get knocked out of the saddle, but it seems to take forever us to get back into it. And, the old saying is, get knocked down 5, get up 6. I mean, and it's only really us that we can do it. But of course, there are lending hands. People are there to lend a hand who have belief. And that's where, Dave and Dave, this community of empowered, kind of leadership group, really, a movement, really, who are really looking to change the world in a positive way, to kind of put, that kind of empowerment and that self-belief back into the hands of the bodies of the people, and the mindsets of the people with which we were involved and choose to be involved. And one of the key elements is to get off the fence. So if you have a burning desire, which is basically having a connection with your sense of purpose and your life purpose, which is effectively your why. Why do you do it? It could be family, it could be a charity, it could be death of a loved one, it could be supporting somebody who's been through a hard time, it could be a past life, not life experience, but possibly a past experience that where you just kind of go, I'm not going to ever have that happen to me again. I mean, whatever it happens to be for you, it is a personal journey, but connect with that. When you have that kind of deep sense of, that deep passion, that deep burning desire, don't just keep it there. Engage with it. Activate it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Don't sit around and go, well, I'm not ready because I haven't polished it up yet. Forget all that. That's that kind of perfectionist kind of thing. Those, how are you going to perfect them if you don't actually engage with them? Because that's part of the learning process. You kind of go, oh, right, that doesn't work. I mean, the Edisons of the world, they didn't give up the first time round. The Henry Fords could have given up and said, I can't do it. It's not possible. We tried to manufacture this particular engine. It didn't work. And we all know that, there was a time where you had engines running on hemp, and they got away with that, and then they could mold bodies with the resin. And there's alternative things, and they haven't gone away. But, it's an idea that, it keeps going. Why? Because there are people who believe in it, and there are people who look around and go, there's got to be another way, because look at what's going on. It's collapsed, it's crashed, it's burnt out. People are burnt out, lives have been burnt out. And to kind of bring it back around to the original opening, the introduction here, is when you find yourself discouraged in your business, do not try to go it alone. You don't have to. We have this thing, it's like this, I must be lesser than if I reach out for help. Absolutely not. It's actually smarter. And anybody who's been successful, the big names nowadays, you got the Gateses, you got the Bransons, you got, possibly the Trumps, I don't know enough about them, but key people who have been extremely successful with their name and branded, they, most of the time I would say, would be the first to admit that they would not have gotten there had it not been for the incredible team behind them. They just have an ability of identifying those people who are very good at what they do and bring them together that then allows them to move forward. And the same thing is, I'm not saying pick your friends according to what they can give you back. Absolutely not. I mean, that's not true friendship. That's just, whatever. That's just kind of a business arrangement or whatever it happens to be. But if you look at it as a business arrangement and you look at the context of what that relationship really is you wouldn't have known them had it not been for your business, then both of you have an equal exchange of adding value to each other and identifying that. And if you don't, very respectfully and very honorably, you say, okay, no, thank you. Also, there are times where you think, well, I might slow them down, and we're kind of thinking on their behalf. That's very honorable and it's very kind, but you won't know it until you ask the question. Somebody may say, hey, look, I'm not really looking for a partner now, and they may turn around and say, you know what, not yet, but maybe later, when I'm at a different phase in the game. If you're self-respectful, that exudes and that builds a sense of confidence. The others are attracted to that. That becomes attractive. You become attractive. You magnetize and draw people to you, even if you don't necessarily have everything to bring to the table that someone else might be looking for. But hey, these things go kind of round and round. They're cyclical. And everybody's at different stages. Some people may be adding value at the beginning of the game, and the others at the value at the end of the game. Who knows? I mean, everybody's different, and it's unique and it's valuable. So on that note, I recommend that you carry on with it. Okay? Don't give up. Reach out, look out, and go for it.